If you've ever set foot inside an outdoor store, it's hard not to spot that seemingly endless wall of boots and shoes. And if you're relatively new to hill walking, selecting the right footwear can be a little bit intimidating. Well, stick around because I'm going to be taking a look at the 3 main different types of footwear and trying to work out exactly which ones are for you. Hi, my name's Jack and welcome to the Summit Fit YouTube channel. As well as videos on gear and equipment such as this one here today, we'll be looking at different techniques and hints and tips to try and make your life in the mountains a little bit easier. Now if that sounds like your kind of thing, please hit the subscribe button below so you don't miss out on anything that's coming up. With so many different choices, often finding the right kind of footwear for your trek or trip or activity or whatever it is you're getting up to in the great outdoors is not always easy. I'm going to take a quick look now at the 3 main different types. First of all, we're going to be looking at the trainer type, or the sort of trail shoe, and these are ideal for fast and light movements in the mountains. So trail running, fell running, activities where you want to keep your kit low and you're moving quite quickly. Trail shoes are also great for well-established paths in good conditions. Now there's no reason why a trail shoe can't be taken on a scrambling route, maybe like a grade 1 scramble, in the right conditions. However, it's really important that you've ample experience, you've plenty of experience, you know what you're doing, and you know exactly what your footwear is capable of. Generally, when it comes to more technical or more demanding routes, we would always recommend something with a little bit of ankle support, which really quite quickly moves us on to the next 2 categories, which is what I'm predominantly going to focus on today. First up, the classic walking boot. Now already you can quickly see a difference between the walking boot and the trail shoe. Besides the fact this is bright orange, it's obviously got a much higher ankle on it. Now this ankle is going to provide protection in 3 different forms. Initially, you've got motion protection. So that is that it's going to reduce the chance of you going over on your ankle, having a bit of a twisted ankle, for instance. Now the extra support, if you do go over on your ankle, is going to reduce the effect that that's going to have. So it's going to make it significantly less painful. This is generally why we'd always recommend using something with a bit of ankle support on more demanding routes. The next level of protection is physical protection. So that is against things such as knocks and bumps against rocks, etc. Now if you've ever trekked across the summits of the Glidders, it's easy to imagine how you can knock your ankles about whilst on a bit of a trek. So this boot is going to help. As well, boots tend to, in comparison to most trail shoes, boots, even these that are really lightweight, sort of quite flexible boots, are going to offer quite a bit more in the way of sort of protection in the toe box area. So again, if you're stubbing your feet, as well as ankle protection, it's going to sort of generally protect your feet a little bit better anyway. So, as well as the motion and physical protection that the additional sort of ankle support offers and the boot offers, you're also getting a little bit more protection from the elements. In the same way that when a Wellington boot rises higher up your leg, a boot, although obviously not as high, is going to offer just that little bit more protection against the elements. In actual fact, there are many trail shoes that don't have any sort of waterproof membrane in them because of course the water can simply get in over the top anyway. With a boot, you are getting a little bit more protection. In terms of waterproof membranes, this one actually has a Gore-Tex membrane, which is probably one of the most popular or most recognized brands that produce waterproof membranes. Now this applies to all 3 of the categories that we're here chatting about today. It is really important that you look after your boot to maintain that membrane. Often, after a few uses, it can be all too easy to think that the waterproof membrane in your boot is failing, but in actual fact, it's so important that you look after the boot to maintain that waterproofing. When you first buy a boot or shoe, you're going to notice that when the boot gets wet, if it's raining or you're walking through grass, etc., wet grass, you're going to notice the water droplets are going to bead on the outer surface of the boot, a little bit like they're on a waxy surface. These beads then nicely run off the boot and continue on their journey into the ground or onto someone else's boots. Now in time, as you use the boots, as you knock them against rocks, you walk through bracken, you head through grass, just general use, putting them in and out of packs, getting them in and out of the car, this is going to wear away this outer coating on the boot that causes the water to bead. Now as this wears away, you'll notice quite quickly that the boots are soaking up water on the outside, a little bit like you can see here. I've just stubbed these into grass around me. These need reproofing, and you can see that the water has now, it hasn't beaded on the outer surface of the boot, it has in actual fact soaked in. Now the waterproof membrane inside the boot has loads of really tiny little holes in it. Now these holes are so small, they don't allow cold water vapor such as rain, puddles, or whatever it is you might be walking through. They don't allow these cold drops through the membrane. The holes are too small to allow cold water drops through. Now the warm sweat vapor coming from your feet breaks down much smaller, and this is actually able to pass back through the membrane, which gives the boot that sort of breathability quality and hopefully keeps you dry feet at the end of your walk. Now of course, as the boot soaks up water on the outside, that outer surface is in itself being blocked by water. So what that means is any sweat that comes off your feet, that's all now trapped within the boot. Often at the end of the day, you're going to take your feet out and you're going to think, oh, my waterproofing has failed me, my feet are wet. But in reality, it's probably just a day's worth of high exercise sweat all building up in your boot. Pretty gross, pretty smelly. As well, as water builds up on the outer surface of the boot, that pressure against the waterproof membrane in the boot is building and building. So whilst those tiny holes are designed to stop cold water from going into the boot, the pressure built up against them may now mean it starts to fail and that cold water is in fact going to enter the boot. So it is really important that you get a product such as Nick Wax or Granger's. I'll pop some links in the description below to reproof the boots. They come as spray-on form, or you can sponge them on. They come in little sponges and you dab them on. It's a really quick process, and it's not unusual if you're using your boots quite a bit to maybe have to do this every few weeks or so. So as we head down to the bottom of the boot, we're moving to the outer sole now of the boot itself. Now you can see a little bit of worn out yellow blob on the bottom of this boot. That is a sign that this is a Vibram sole. So there are a few different brands of soles that you can get, and often these are sort of hardened, reinforced rubber. Now what that means is that the rubber is going to last longer, it's going to offer you therefore a deeper tread for longer, it's not going to wear out as quickly, which in turn is going to offer you much better grip for a longer period of time. Often when the boots are new, these hardened outer soles can be a little bit slick, particularly on sort of wet rock or smooth surfaces. So if you've got a new pair of boots, after you've done 38 laps around the house and you've established you don't need to return them to the shop, they do in fact fit, it's worth taking them on a few well-established trails just to sort of break them in a little bit. Now these are pretty lightweight, flexible walking boots. You're going to get more flexible ones, but you're also going to get more rigid ones. Whether you're new to walking or you're relatively advanced, in most cases, unless you're doing something quite technical, there's going to be a walking boot to suit what you need. When you're in an outdoor store, chat to the staff there. They've often been trained to help you find the right boots for your activity. But my advice would be to go for the lightest weight boot you need for your activity without compromising safety, and that's really important. Remember that heavier weight boots, they are going to take a bit of a toll. You're going to feel it as the day goes on. They're going to be exhausting. If, however, you are taking on more technical treks and it is a little bit more rigidity you need, then it's our third type of boot that we're going to be looking at, and that is the B-rated boot. So B-rated boots are going to offer now a much higher level of rigidity. B-rated boots come in three different categories. You've got your B1, your B2 and your B3. B1 boots are considered to be a great all-year-round, four-season rigid walking boot. The sharp edge sole that you can see on the boot here is great for sort of cramming into those little nooks and crannies on rocks, and the rigid sole acts like a platform to support your foot when you're scrambling. Your B2 boots are great for your summer alpine walking or your Scottish winter climbing or winter walking. They're significantly more rigid than the B1 boots, but still offer a little bit of flex that make walking in them a bit more tolerable. Your B3 boots are your most rigid yet. They're designed for full-on mountaineering. They're ideal for year-round alpinism, mixed ice climbing, and they offer extreme support. With each of your B1, 2 and 3 category boots comes a crampon to match in C1, C2 and C3. As you increase from C1 to C3 in the crampons, the rigidity increases, and with it some of the more technical features as well. So in summary, of course you've got your trail shoes, ideal for light and weight movements or on well-established footpaths. You've got your classic walking boots, which if you're watching this video thinking, what am I meant to be buying? I'm just getting into walking, then it's likely to be this category. They offer support for longer days out, or maybe slightly more technical or more demanding trails, whilst being lightweight and flexible and comfortable. And finally, you've got your B-rated boots. These are not a beginner category. If you're looking to advance your sort of summer hill walking into more technical areas, then these are the boots you're probably going to be looking for. If you've got any questions, pop them in the comments below. We'd love to know your thoughts. And if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on anything that's coming up. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time.